Okay, hello. We are going to be learning by video notes today. When we have video notes, you'll have the notes in front of you. You should take notes just like we would in class. And the only thing is you can't ask me questions today, but you can ask me questions later. A copy of these video notes, like the recording, will also be available on ePark 2. If you look under Unit 2, you should be able to find it if you look carefully, okay? So what we're going to do is review another pre-algebra concept of solving equations, and these are just equations that have two steps. So I want to remind you that inverse operations are two operations that cancel each other. And operations that cancel each other would be addition. And what cancels addition? Subtraction. And subtraction cancels addition. What are two other operations that cancel each other? Well, multiplication and division also cancel each other. And you're allowed to do that inverse operation on both sides of an equation, because when you perform the same inverse operation on each side of an equation, we produce equivalent equations, and then we can find the solution. So these are the steps. The first thing we're going to do is get rid of extra terms. Now remember, terms are separated by addition. So what we would do first is we would get rid of anything using addition or subtraction, the inverse operation of what we see. Then after all your addition and subtraction is gone, then we can get rid of extra factors. To get rid of extra factors, that's when we'll then do multiplication or division. Now when we are solving, and we might have to see if the coefficient is a fraction, then we might use reciprocals. And we'll practice that today. Another thing that you'll be able to do is to check your answer. If you put the answer we get, the solution, back into the equation, it should be true. We'll practice that a couple times. So let's start with example 1. It wants us to solve the following equations. Well, I have negative 7x plus 9 equals 23. Our goal is to isolate the x, to get it all by itself. So first I'm going to get rid of extra terms using addition or subtraction. Well, I see I have a plus 9 here, so to get rid of it I would subtract 9. But notice that I have two sides to an equation separated by the equal sign. So I need to do the same inverse operation on the other side. These now cancel, so I'm just left with negative 7x equals 14. And now I'm done with step 1. I've gotten rid of extra terms. Now I want to get rid of extra factors. When I see negative 7x, what operation is between those? Well, it's multiplication. So how would we get rid of multiplication? By division. So I'm going to divide by negative 7. And in algebra, we usually use a fraction bar when we're dividing. Then what happens is that these negative 7's cancel, and I'm just left with x equals, and 14 divided by negative 7 is negative 2. And that's my solution. Now some of you might be ready to happy cloud right away, but just for you conscientious kids, you are able to check. What you can do is you can check by putting in that value you got for x. So we got negative 2 for x. Let's take this equation, I rewrote it here, and let's put negative 2 in place of x and make sure that we get a true statement. Well, let's perform order of operations. Negative 7 times negative 2 is positive 14. and then I also have plus 9 equals 23, and 14 plus 9 is 23. I know that that's correct, and so that means that I did all my work correctly, and my answer is x equals -2. Let's try the same thing with letter B. First, we get rid of extra terms. So to get rid of subtraction, we'll add 6. These cancel. I end up with y over 3 equals 8. Well, what does y over 3 mean? Well, that fraction means division. So the inverse of division is multiplication. So to get rid of that, I'd want to multiply both sides by 3. Here they cancel. We just get y. And here we have 8 times 3, which is 24. If we want to check, we could make sure. We could put 24 in for y, divide it by 3, subtract 6, and make sure that we get our answer of 2. So notice that these match. So 24 divided by 3 is 8. I write the rest of the equation. 8 minus 6 is 2. This is correct. So that's my final answer, y equals 24. Let's look at letter C. Once again, let's get rid of extra terms. The extra term here would be the plus 6. To get rid of a positive 6, we would want to subtract 6 from each side. These cancel, and I end up with 4/5 C equals 8. Now, I know that we're multiplying here, but really what's happening is that some people say, oh, well, I want to divide. And it's true, you do want to divide. Over here, we divided by -7 because we were multiplying by -7. Here, we want to divide by 4/5. But when you divide by 4/5, isn't that the same as multiplying by the reciprocal, 5/4? So that's what we do when we have fractions. And it makes it a lot easier to simplify, particularly the other side. So I'm going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal. Do you see how everything on this side cancels out? And then we're just left with C. And now over here we have some fractions. But remember, you can think about a number as, well, you can think about 8, for example, as 8 over 1. And that helps us when we multiply fractions, because then we can just multiply the numerators. 8 times 5 is 40. And now multiply the denominators. 1 times 4 is 4. And can we do anything to 40 over 4? 40 divided by 4 is 10. And that will be our answer, C equals 10. And we can check that too, but just so you can work on your homework for a little longer, we won't check anymore, all right, today. Let's look at letter D. We have 9 minus D equals -5. Well, we want to get the D by itself, and the 9 is in the way. Now, I know I see subtraction, but if I added 9, that wouldn't cancel it. Since this is a positive 9, I need to subtract 9. And I'll do that on the other side of the equal sign as well. So when those cancel, I get -D equals -14. Now that -D, what number is really in front of that? It's really like a -1. So that means that what we could do is divide by -1 on both sides to get rid of it. Here the -1s cancel, and I'm left with D. And if I take -14 divided by -1, I get a +14. And again, that does check out. Letter E. Let's think about what we would do first here. the first thing we would do is get rid of extra terms. So we would want to subtract 7. I then have g over 5, since these canceled, equals 3 minus 7 is negative 4. And again, when you see this fraction bar, what operation is that doing to the g and the 5? Remember, we said it was division. And to get rid of division, we want to multiply. These 5's cancel, and I'm just left with g. And negative 4 times 5 is negative 20. And that checks out too. Finally, let's look at f. Think about what you would do first. Well, the first thing we do is get rid of extra terms. So we would want to start by adding or subtracting. And since we have a minus 3, we'd want to add 3. These cancel, and I'm left with 9 halves x, or 9 over 2x, equals negative 9, because negative 12 plus 3 gave me negative 9. Well, here's this fraction again. And so when I have a fraction as a coefficient, when I am trying to solve an equation, we said to multiply by the reciprocal. The reciprocal will be 2/9. The left side is nice because these all cancel and I just have x. But on the right side, I have a non-fraction and a fraction. It helps some people to write that non-fraction as a fraction, just put it over 1. And that might help with the next step, where we multiply numerators. Negative 9 times 2 gives me negative 18. Multiply denominators. 1 times 9 is 9. And then we try to simplify. Does 9 go into 18 evenly? It does, twice. And a negative divided by a positive is a negative. So my answer would be x equals negative 2. Okay? So again, if these were too fast for you, they are located on ePart 2 for you guys to see. Also on ePart 2 is the worked out, the filled in notes. And I did check all of them on the filled in notes. And now you guys are all set to work on your worksheet for today. So hopefully this helped. In addition, you're also going to be looking at some describing graphs. And so do your best, and I will see you at the next class. Have a great day.